Look, we might not ever get a Fighters Pass 3. Our only hope is if they pull a Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and make a definitive port of Smash Ultimate for Nintendo's next console. But if we were to get something like this, here are 5 characters I think we'd see come to the game. Just like the 2 actual Fighters Passes, there's a good mix of first and third party picks, all relevant today in 2023. Let's kick off with one of the more obvious choices, Noah and Mio, the main characters of the Xenoblade Chronicles 3 game. Either Noah or Mio could come to the game as a solo fighter, but because one of the biggest, most unique features of these characters is Interlink, where the 2 combine into a larger, more imposing form, I think there needs to be a tandem aspect. I believe the fighter could function similarly to how Pyra and Mythra do now with their form swap, and for the final smash, depending on the character we're controlling at the moment, we'll gain control of either Noah or Mio's Ouroboros for a short time. The concept sorta writes itself, and I think it's one of the coolest Smash character ideas out there right now. I also love the idea that since this is a tandem character, the alternate costumes could be the other 2 Ouroboros pairs. It doesn't have to be too crazy, just do a model swap and keep the same moves and hitboxes, since we could just have them all take the Sword Fighter class from the main game. Then we could have Noah and Mio, Lance and Senna, Uni and Taion, and all of their respective interlinks playable in Smash. That would be absolutely insane. But it might be a little wishful. Simply having Noah and Mio would definitely suffice. If this were to happen, I could even imagine the Interlink form being part of their main kit instead of the final smash, with it having a cooldown on when they can use it. Then they could make the final smash Lucky 7 instead, recreating the scene where they cancel Interlink, hold hands, and summon the blade. As for a stage, I'd like to see these 2 come along with sort of a general Ionios one, a changing background stage where the battlefield starts by overlooking Sword March and the Orion Titan from the box art, and then takes us around to the various areas present in the game. Let's move on to pick number 2, and that's Rayman. Rayman sort of has that Crash Bandicoot thing where despite being a third-party character, he kinda seems to belong in Smash. Something about these 90s and early 2000s platforming heroes really seems to mesh well with the rest of the Nintendo characters. And that's even apparent in his latest appearance, as he'll be starring as a guest hero in Mario + Rabbids Sparks of Hope's DLC. I know the whole Rayman and Smash thing is a little played out, as he's been a highly requested fighter for years and years now. But what's wrong with that? I can see Rayman working in Smash as a great all-arounder, one who relies mainly on a set of solid melee attacks. For his special, I could see a Lum Throw being a really good projectile that can stun foes for a short time. This light stun could leave foes in range of his long-reaching forward smash. Rayman would just really want to use his agile movement from his platforming games to get in position to hit opposing fighters with his stun and series of strong smashes. Of course, his up B would be the propeller, giving him a really good recovery. And Rayman's stage would just be called Glade of Dreams, which would feature various landmarks and characters from throughout the series. Third is another obvious pick, Alear, the avatar from the most recent Switch Fire Emblem game. Alear is a genuine no-brainer for Smash. We already have the avatar character from most of the modern Fire Emblem games already, so what would be stopping them now? Yes, it would be yet another Fire Emblem character in Smash, but I actually think Alear would make for a pretty cool addition. They have an eye-catching design and color scheme, plus they'll have both male and female-inspired alternate costumes. Best of all, since one of the main gameplay hooks in Fire Emblem Engage is the Emblem system, in which classic Fire Emblem heroes are called upon in battle, Alear's Smash moveset could be a tribute to the Fire Emblem avatars who've come before them. Though Alear would mainly have a standard Smash Sword Fighters kit, their down B would not be a counter. Instead, it could be used to cycle through emblems, all of which would change their neutral special. For example, with the Marth emblem equipped, the neutral special would be the Shield Breaker. The Roy emblem would give them the chargeable Flare Blade. The Corrin emblem would give them the Dragon Fang Sharp Projectile as their neutral B. And lastly, the Byleth emblem would offer the Piercing Fail Knot. As for the stage, that's probably going to be Somniel, the floating island that's the base of operations in Fire Emblem Engage. The next pick would be following another Smash trend, representing other historic fighting game franchises. I believe the fighting game that most needs to be represented in Smash Bros. Now is Soul Calibur, and that's why Fighter 4 is going to be Nightmare/Siegfried from Soul Calibur. Soul Calibur is arguably the most Nintendo-adjacent fighting game not yet represented in Smash. It even had an entry on GameCube where Link guest starred as a playable fighter. One of the fighters who joined Link on that roster was the fearsome Nightmare. In many of the Soul Calibur games, Siegfried, one of the series protagonists, becomes Nightmare due to being corrupted by the Soul Edge Blade. I think Nightmare having the main Smash Bros. Roster slot, complete with some Siegfried alternate costumes or an Echo, would be the perfect way to represent yet another beloved fighting game series in Nintendo's brawler. Siegfried and Nightmare would be some of the most intimidating fighters on the roster, and it would be quite a sight seeing them take the battlefield alongside Princess Peach and Pikachu. As much as I'm not really a big fan of the genre, I still always get a good feeling when more fighting game reps get recognized in Smash Bros. In one way, I'm happy that it's a tribute to games that inspired Smash. And in another, it adds to the once-in-a-lifetime epic crossover that is Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. I'd really love for Nightmare to happen, and come on, Bandai Namco needs another rep. They helped make the game. For a stage, similar to my Xenoblade and Rayman picks, it will be sort of a series tribute stage, serving up memorable locations from across the franchise. But for a special little touch for this stage, each time a character falls off the edge for a KO, the classic Soul Calibur Ring Out message will appear on screen, and that sound clip will play. For my final character today, I'm going for a second tandem character of the video. We always have to consider the possibility that a new Smash Bros. Fighter would of course come from the biggest franchise in the world, Pokemon. All throughout Smash Ultimate speculation, we heard rumors of Decidueye, the final evolution of Alola region starter Rowlet, possibly coming to the game. But unfortunately, I think Decidueye's time has come and passed. With Scarlet and Violet now being the latest Pokemon games, plus the fact that Smash loves putting in starter Pokemon as playable fighters, one of the new starter Pokemon from Paldea could definitely work. In Smash Ultimate, we already have a Final Form Fire-type representation with Charizard and Incineroar, and Final Form Water-type representation with Greninja, but there's no Final Form Grass starter. It always seemed like the Grass type needed a rep, hence the Decidueye and even Rillaboom rumors. So I think a new Fighter's Pass could definitely include Meowscarada, the final evolution of Paldea starter Sprigatito. However, one problem that comes to mind for me with this pick is Meowscarada's popularity. As Smash fighters right now, we have super popular Pokemon like Charizard and Greninja, and at least for me, Meowscarada is not on that level, at least not yet. Although popularity isn't the end-all be-all, since we do have Incineroar as a fighter who really isn't that popular of a Pokemon and wasn't at the time of his inclusion. To solve the popularity problem, I'm going to say that instead my Fighter 5 would be Paldean Pokemon Trainer. This fighter would have all of that region's first stage starters, Fuecoco, Sprigatito, and Quaxly, all freely swappable during the match. These three are all very popular Pokemon in their own right, arguably all outshining their final forms. All three would probably have to be scaled up a bit to be at least Squirtle size, but I could definitely see it working. Plus, Mesagoza Square would be a picture-perfect Smash stage too. And for the final Smash, of course, Terastallization and a Tera Blast from all three. So what do you think of these character picks for Fighters Pass 3 of Smash Ultimate? I think I stayed fairly realistic, maybe reaching a bit with the Paldea Pokemon Trainer. I'd love to know what you think down below, and feel free to add who you would pick for a Fighters Pass 3. Thanks as always for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.